Okay, so today we're going to unpack one of the most influential civilizations in all of history. We're talking about Rome. And, Rome wasn't just a city. It wasn't even just an empire. It was this powerful, powerful idea that literally shaped the foundations of the Western world.
So, let's just try to get our heads around the scale here. At its absolute peak, the Roman Empire stretched across a staggering 5 million square kilometers. It wrapped completely around the Mediterranean Sea, all the way from the rainy hills of Britain to the sun-baked banks of the Euphrates River.
And it wasn't just about sheer size, right? It was about staying power. The Roman Empire, in one form or another, endured for over 1,500 years. Think about that. From its official start way back in 27 BC to the final fall of its eastern half in 1453,
So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth did one city pull this off? And more importantly, what does it all mean for us, right here, right now? Well, let's dive in and find out.
the story of the empire doesn't begin with some grand, bold creation. Actually, it's the opposite. It begins with a total collapse. The Roman Republic, which had been around for centuries, was completely torn apart by a long, bloody century of pretty much constant civil war.
It was just this incredibly chaotic period. You have Julius Caesar's assassination, which of course plunges Rome into yet another power struggle. That whole mess only really ends when his adopted son Octavian defeats the combined forces of Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the massive naval battle of Actium.
So by 27 BC, the Senate they're exhausted. They are so weary of all the war, so they grant Octavian a new title, Augustus, and with it, supreme military power, what the Romans called imperium. Now, the Republic technically still existed in name, but make no mistake, this move effectively made him the very first Roman emperor.
Okay, so with one man finally in charge, the constant civil wars screeched to a halt. And this is when Rome enters this unprecedented era of stability, which allowed it to build all the complex systems that would power its centuries of dominance.
This period is famously known as the Pax Romana, which literally means the Roman peace. For 2 whole centuries, this stability allowed trade to absolutely flourish. Ideas spread like wildfire, and it created a golden age of economic prosperity and cultural cohesion the world had just never seen before.
The empire's control was so total that it wrapped entirely around the Mediterranean. The Romans, not exactly being humble about it, proudly called it Mare Nostrum, RC. They effectively turned this huge, vital body of water into a massive Roman lake for trade and transport.
And this whole thing was powered by this incredible machine of systems, all working together. You had a professional full-time army securing the borders, a vast network of masterfully engineered roads connecting all the provinces, and a universal currency system that greased the wheels of trade from Spain all the way to Syria.
So what was it actually like to live in this place, this vast, multicultural empire? Well, it was a world of incredible diversity for sure, but also one of incredibly rigid social hierarchy.
Roman society was deeply, deeply hierarchical, and nothing shows this better than its justice system. Get this, the upper classes, the so-called honestiores, they might just have to pay a fine for a crime. But the common folk, the humiliores, could be whipped, scourged, or even executed for the exact same offense. And you have to understand, a massive part of the economy was built on the backs of enslaved people. In the heartland of Italy, it's estimated that as much as 35% of the entire population was enslaved, and they performed every job imaginable, from respected positions like physicians and teachers, all the way down to the brutal, often deadly labor in the mines.
But, at the same time, the idea of what it meant to be Roman was actually expanding. In a truly revolutionary move in 212 AD, the Emperor Caracalla extended citizenship to all freeborn people across the entire empire. This was a game changer, and it fundamentally altered the legal landscape for millions.
But, as we all know, no golden age lasts forever. The empire began a long, slow unraveling that would eventually, centuries later, lead to its collapse. A historian who was actually living at the time, Cassius Dio, he marked the beginning of the end with the reign of Emperor Commodus. He saw it as the sharp, brutal descent, a fall from what he called a shining kingdom of gold into a decaying one of rust and iron. And what followed were just centuries of crisis. Devastating plagues, constant civil wars, relentless invasions, it all strained the empire to its breaking point. It got so bad that the Emperor Diocletian literally split the empire into eastern and western halves just to manage it, a division that eventually became permanent.
The Western Empire fell in 476, but the East, well, the East endured for another 1,000 years.
But here's the really crucial point. Even though the political entity of Rome eventually fell, its ideas are very, very much alive. Its legacy is woven into the very fabric of our world today.
Seriously, its legacy is all around us. We see it in our legal systems, so many of which are built on principles of Roman law. We hear it in the languages many of us speak, the Romance languages. We see it in the architecture of our government buildings, and of course in the spread of Christianity, which became the state religion in the empire's final centuries.
You can see this connection so clearly, it's almost uncanny. Just look at an ancient Roman structure like the magnificent Pantheon, and then compare it to neoclassical buildings like the Jefferson Memorial. The DNA of Roman architecture is absolutely unmistakable, and you can find it in capitals all over the world today.
So the next time you look at a coin or walk into a courthouse or even just use certain words in English, remember the Roman Empire. It might be gone, but its echo is everywhere, reminding us that this history isn't just a story about ancient ruins, it's a living, breathing part of our present.